My purpose for entering the situation is to ensure that those pilots who risked so much and materially shortened the Pacific War by their actions receive the long overdue personal recognition and official accolades they merit for their valor. Perhaps Sophocles said it best: "The long unmeasured pulse of time moves everything. There is nothing hidden that it cannot bring to light." I truly hope so. Dan Hampton, Vail, Colorado. Foreword by Rex Barber Jr. and Rex Barber III. When Dan asked us to write the foreword for this book, a flood of thoughts went through our minds. First, how do you say the right thing about someone you knew as Dad and Grandpa and who also had a part in changing world history? A farm kid from Culver, Oregon, did what so many of the greatest generation did. They volunteered for service, went to combat, and just did their job. Heroes come in all shapes and sizes. A few boast about their accomplishments, but most said they did their job and went on to the next day. Mission Day was in all likelihood a suicide mission. I have often wondered what was going through Rex's mind as he turned his P-38 to attack the bomber with 6 Zeros above and behind him, diving to attack in a desperate attempt to save Yamamoto. Then, as he passed over the smoking bomber, 3 of the Zeros were on his tail, putting 52 bullets into his plane. I'm sure he was mad that he had to try to escape rather than fight. I'm also sure that he had confidence in his training, his plane, his skill, and his mother's prayers. The cockpit was most likely filled with profanity interspersed with prayer. Odd, you might say, unless you have experienced combat. Rex's love of flying started early, listening to his Uncle Edgar's stories about flying in France in World War I. Uncle Edgar was known to embellish a story and may have overstated his World War I exploits. Regardless, it planted the seed in a young farm boy, resulting in an early flight off the barn with a makeshift parachute and a broken arm. Having flown in a beach bonanza with Rex after his retirement, it was obvious that he was a part of the plane, confident in his ability and smooth in his touch on the stick. History is often an odd web. Yamamoto and all of Japan were hated in the United States after Pearl Harbor. Yet growing up, Rex had a Japanese-American classmate, Doc Akiyama, whom he helped save after Doc fell and broke his back while they were fishing in the rugged Crooked River Canyon in 1940. 3 years later, Doc and his family were in an internment camp, and Rex was looking over his shoulder at smoke coming out of the jungle on Bougainville. In another place and time, Yamamoto would have been a friend. There were many common interests: bridge, poker and a good wager, and love of country. I believe Yamamoto would have played bridge like Rex, bid no trump if you can because of the finesse required to make it work. Whether you were lucky enough to sit in his lap at 5 years old and hear this account of history firsthand, or you are hearing it now, the man known as Rex, Sir, Colonel, Coach, Friend, and Hero was truly part of the greatest generation. Thank you, Dad, Grandpa. Prologue, April 18, 1943, the South Pacific. A bead of sweat rolled down the fighter pilot's face. Gathering momentum, it furrowed a light stripe over his cheekbone, down around his mouth, and when it could go no farther, the bead hung suspended from the end of his stubbled chin. Stretching until gravity triumphed, it dropped onto a narrow strip map on the man's left thigh and splattered across a blue area marked Solomon Sea. Though it wasn't yet 7 a.m., man and machine were already draped in a thick blanket of wet heat. Condensation made the metal surfaces of the cockpit clammy, and the control wheel was slick with moisture. Cracked and taped, the patched leather seat cushion had lost its firmness months earlier and now stank of mildew and heavy jungle funk. Everything stank, smoke from the cooking fires mixed with decaying vegetation.